After selling a few properties and interests earlier in the year, MPT announced 800 million of secured financing backed by UK properties on May 24th. The company's CEO, Ed Aldag, said, "In the first 5 months of the year, we have raised 2.4 billion of liquidity, comfortably exceeding our initial full-year liquidity target of 2.0 billion. 2.0 billion. As sophisticated third-party investors continue to recognize the value embedded in our leading portfolio." Although it's true that the 2 billion target of liquidity was met, it wasn't in the way that at least I was envisioning. I was under the impression that no new debt was going to be taken on. After all, the problem with MPW to begin with was too much debt. Instead of dealing with the debt, now more debt is rolled, just so the company stay away from cutting that precious 15-cent dividend. Just recently, though, Bernie Sanders and others launched an investigation into the recent Steward bankruptcy, the bankruptcy that many said wasn't going to happen, apparently including MPT's management. I'm going to use MPT and MPW interchangeably. Why do I say that? Well, over the past few years, MPT has been buying interest in Steward in lieu of rent payment, and on top of that, loaning additional money to the company. A double whammy. A decision chain that made me personally divest from the company. Full disclosure, I held about 11,000 shares. I exited the position for a small loss earlier in the year. I now own no positions involved with the ticker whatsoever. The Hill, a well-known publication, writes, "Steward filed for Chapter 11 protection in May and is looking to sell all hospitals." My immediate thought was, what hospitals? MPT owns all the buildings. Steward just has interest in its operational business, which is bleeding red, big time. To some, they're worthless, but I digress. The Hill further writes, bankruptcy documents show it paid executives excessive money, including De La Torre, who is the CEO, millions and millions of dollars. Sanders says he will vote on to subpoena July 25th to compel De La Torre to testify in hearing on September 12th. It'd be interesting to see De La Torre in front of Congress. Usually these kinds of events are designed to grill popular figures in exchange for political currency. However, I am too curious what this elusive figure has to say. This Ralph guy has been avoiding any kind of public eye for a while now. It wasn't too long ago when Ralph wasn't that elusive. He was entertaining Barack Obama at his private residence, not Barack Obama's private residence, Ralph De La Torre's private residence, to be more precise. He was doing TV interviews. It appears only now he is so unwilling to come out in the open and speak. He prefers to spend his time on his yacht and sends representatives to do his bidding through interviews and Congress hearings. Taking a step back, this whole company was founded on leasebacks. Ever since the first $1 billion deal with Cerberus Capital, De La Torre went on a shopping spree to acquire as many hospitals as he could while using unsuspecting, at least I assume, Ed Aldag as his ATM. Hospitals are very difficult to value. One of the main ways is by rent paid. So, by hiking the rent of the operation up, one could ask for a bigger valuation. And that's exactly what happened. Ralph acquired hospital after hospital without reinvesting money in his current operations, or at least not much. He hated reinvesting money so much that he would start new companies with Ed and others to buy random other companies and hospitals around the world in offbeat jurisdictions like Malta and Colombia. Once again, the cash cow would be MPT, or more accurately, the shareholders and buyers of MPW, people like you and I. This all seemed workable and profitable at first. However, just a slight change of reimbursements, or employment difficulty, or client base, or inflation was enough to kick in the law of large numbers, and this Titanic found its iceberg. As with the historical events, everyone pretended there was no hole in the ship, but alas, the pretending came to a critical mass. Steward's bankruptcy wasn't exactly what made me divest from MPW, but was the management of the company. How can a CEO of huge public real estate investment trust get strung along for this long without realizing the risks? Did these guys think that found the goose that lays the golden egg? The constant reassurance that everything was fine and the constant drain on capital in the forms of loans should have never happened. If a business cannot pay their rent, they need to be allowed to go under. If more willing operator with better cash position will take over, albeit at a low price, so be it. But a low price is better than a constant drain on capital and probably years in court. As for MPT's books, look, the company is going to survive. If we count for, in my opinion, worthless unconsolidated interests and joint ventures operation entities of 3.1 billion, the company is left with about 3.6 billion in shareholder equity. Its current market capitalization is 2.83 billion. So by that metric, still undervalued. The company bleeds 300 million to 700 million worth of assets per quarter. Depends when you start, obviously, from what date and how you calculate it. We can come up with a number that's larger or smaller than this. Arguably, that'll come with a stop. However, they've made zero meaningful progress at paying down any debt. In fact, the debt is higher now than when they pledged to reduce it. The most they've reduced total debt in a quarter is only 90 million in the last couple of years. At this rate, the company will be worth zero in about 4 years, by my calculations. In that time, MPT needs a drastic change. Rates going lower will help, yeah, but it's not enough. I think management that's learned from their mistakes is needed. A humble management that doesn't disregard criticism, a management that does not get in bed with crooks, or at the very least, very optimistic, hyper-leveraged maniacs. The management that is not crooks themselves and want to care about the company and show it by buying shares of their own company in the open market and cut salaries to zero in times of distress such as these. Thanks for listening. Hope that helped a little bit. Peace.